Staples knows that when the leave-behinds for your sales call get left behind at your office, it's time. When you need to print 30 pages and you're 300 miles from the office, it's time. And when the intern packed the Harrington file, not the Farrington file.
Oh, my bad.
It's definitely time. And it's times like these when you can count on Staples. Access your files from email, the cloud, or USB, and then print, copy, fax, or scan them, and get back to business fast. Visit your nearby Staples. It's pro time.
Blog Talk Radio.
Alternative facts.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, numerous unidentified objects of unknown intent and unknown origin were detected at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and these objects are presumed to be some form of controlled aircraft. It is not known if more of these aircraft will arrive, or if they will attempt entering Earth's atmosphere. United States citizens are encouraged to monitor local media outlets, as more updates will follow as information becomes available. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country. The dead are rising from their graves and are attacking the human race. At this time, it is expected that more attacks of this nature will occur in several other states in the next few hours. The intent behind their attack is unknown at this time. It has been observed that a bite or exchange of fluids is a method of transmission. This is an extremely dangerous situation if they crave the taste of human flesh. It is not known whether this event will last for hours, days, or even longer. Stay calm, as authorities have been dispatched to deal with these creatures. An all-clear siren will be sounded when this situation is under control. Pacific Standard Time, nor is detected a long-range nuclear missile launcher. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of all residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host,
Rodney Shortridge,
and co-host, Robin Dalton.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by going to blogtalkradio.com/Within the Chaos, or listen in by phone. You can dial 323-870-4197. And you can also call in to ask questions to our guests at the same number, 323-870-4197. From deep within the heart of the Appalachians, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you all for listening to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight. along with my fiery redhead co-host, Robin Dalton. Tonight our special guest is Dr. Dan Farcas. Dr. Farcas is a mathematician, computer scientist, writer, Romanian researcher of UFOs and extraterrestrial civilizations, and author of UFOs over Romania. It's my honor to welcome our special guest, Dr. Dan Farcas. Hello, doctor, and thank you for joining us. Could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what made you decide to start researching the UFO phenomenon?
Yes, I'm glad to be with you. I am glad to speak to American listeners who like UFO subjects. Please excuse me because I am I'm not very well in English, so maybe I will speak a bit slower than you expect, but I hope it will be a good conversation, a good show.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Even I have trouble with English.
Yes, I had no school education in English, so it was only picked in different situations. So I speak a very essential English.
Well, you're doing a really good job. Where I'm from, where I live right now, in the Appalachian Mountains, they say that we have our own dialect from the rest of the United States. So, man, you do just fine. So,
yes.
What set you on the path to write your book, about the UFOs over Romania?
So, maybe I can show you the book.
Okay.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good cooperation with Philip Mantle in England. I was in touch with him, and he asked me if I can write something about Romanian UFOs. Because yes, it was a short problem. Because the Romanian UFO environment is not very well known for Western people.
Mm-hmm.
We have some, as I told you, some language barrier between us. There are many interesting UFO sightings and encounters in Romania, but nobody knows about them abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the motivation to write this book, and I had a hard work to write it directly in English. Of course, my friends from England made a lot of corrections to be printable, but it was written directly in English, and I assure you and your listeners that there are a lot of interesting, genuine, and sometimes different and new sides of UFO phenomenon.
That's awesome. Because I know UFO craze in the United States is It's crazy.
Yes, I can tell you, even you made an introduction. I am a mathematician. Of course, in the university, I had astronomy courses and physics also, and computers. And so, of course, if somebody has such type of instruction, he will say UFOs is something impossible, scientifically impossible. And that was my opinion for a good while of time, until I started to read some books. And when I read one book, the second, and after others and others, I discovered that maybe we should make a difference between facts and theories. The theory says it's impossible to have UFOs. But if you have hundreds of thousands of sightings, even 95% garbage, but 5% genuine and unexplainable, that means something is happening. And statistically, because I made mathematics, of course, I have some knowledge also in statistics. And statistics say if you have 1,000 or 10,000 unsure sightings, but a lot of details are repeated in many of them, that means something is happening. And that was the point I entered the subject of UFOs, and not only of UFOs. It's interesting, I entered the UFO business not with flying discs, but with UFO abductions. My first books were about abductions. And it was, I thought it's my duty, because in Romania we had in 70s, in 80s, it was almost impossible to have books from Western side of the world. You know, it was the difference between the communist part of world, and we had some problems to have good information about a lot of things. But it was not impossible completely. So I read some books, and of course they were borrowed, and discovered that I have a lot of information, and I should inform my Romanian fellows interested in this. I had also some contacts with some printing houses, because in Romania there were only a few printing houses and very well controlled politically. But I was accepted. I published something in informatics, and so, and I was accepted. And I proposed, can you print something about UFOs? And they told, yes, let's try. Not exactly about UFOs, about extraterrestrials. It was a more general subject. And so I told myself, my business in Romania is to inform the Romanians about UFO business. But shortly, I had feedbacks, and I discovered that in Romania we have a lot of very interesting and not always the same kind of things I read in the books. So I started to collect not very many information, but it was impossible to not collect, because all the time several people told me or wrote me about their cases. And I discovered the cases are similar with those abroad and similar with each other in Romania. So when Philip Mantel asked me about to write a book about Romanian cases, I had a lot of my cases, and also, of course, I had some good books from my Romanian colleagues who collected many data. Unfortunately, some of them no more between us. Mm-hmm. So it was somehow my duty to give their work to the English reading, English language people. Mm-hmm. That was the meaning of that book. And of course, I introduced a small part about what is the ufology in Romania, what was before, in the communist regime, what is now, what we can do if there are some magazines or so, and associations and movements and conferences. And in the last chapter, I introduced my own conclusions about what could be the best explanation for what is happening around us. Mm-hmm. Because I am now convinced that the UFOs are a very serious business. So it's not only delusions and fakes and so. Mm-hmm. It's something very serious, and it is in connection with many other parts of paranormal. And also, and I discovered this here in Romania, but it's not my discovery. It's maybe Jacques Vallée was the first to say that it is a connection between UFOs and folklore and mythology and religion. Mm-hmm. So we have, for example, at least 10 serious cases. I introduced in my book only 2 well developed, and some others with religious encounters which are exactly like UFO encounters, or people who had UFO encounters and religious encounters, or in religious encounters, the same details as in another UFO encounter. So the things are closed, and I could not make a difference between them. So I treated them together. It's not because I am like in some sects in California, maybe, who consider that there is no God, but only extraterrestrials or so. I am an analyst, and I only see there are some connections, but I tried to make a difference between what is UFOs and what is religious things, and I could not make a difference. So they are connected too much together. And the same is with folklore. And I think Romania is a very good place to see that, because I give you some examples. I met people in the countryside, and they told, yes, it was a bright globe going so and so on the sky, and I asked them, and what do you think? What it was? Oh, what was? It's a sign from God, and that's all. The things is solved for them. So for many people are have sightings and has no problems with the sightings. They are not thinking to make a report to maybe to a newspaper or to our association, because it's something normal. It's a sign from God, and that's all. The same is with, or maybe even more interesting, is with folklore. I have many cases here with some for example, the Maid of Forest is a kind of female living in the forest, but we have in Europe a lot of similar cases, but only in fairy tales. So there is a fairy people everywhere, at least in Europe, but they are closed in fairy tales. They are no more in reality for majority of people. But in Romania, I found people who told, yes, I met this fairy, I heard this fairy singing, and not one, but many. That's the general thing. But the particular is, I have a case when fairy was seen by at least 2 witnesses descending from a UFO. The same ferry, the made of woods, that's the name in that region.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big region, because I learned that it's north of Romania until Slovakia. It's all this, it's a wooden region, and everywhere the people knows about that kind of ferry. It's not, of course, every time, but you can find people who met that ferry. And it's not now, it's for centuries. And I have one witness who was in this moment when the ferry descended from the UFO, but he met this ferry in many other cases without UFO. And so we have cases like this, and I think this is an opening of what is really the UFO business. So I agree once again with Jacques Vallée, who told it's not, and also Ellen Hynek told the same thing, is not an extraterrestrial business in the narrow sense of the extraterrestrial. So it's not someone like in, let's say, in Independence Day film.
Mm-hmm.
It's not somebody coming here, maybe trying to find if they can invade us or not, or if it's a good thing to land near the White House with a flag and told, yes, we are extraterrestrials and we want to make a deal with the chief of the earth and so.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of extraterrestrial business is somehow is a shame. Is interesting for maybe for writers, for science fiction writers, but not. I cannot accept it, and many other people cannot accept it. It is something more complex. But what is sure, at least for me, is that above us there is something, a power. There is a power, and it has many, many faces. Many faces for at least 2 reasons. The first reason is maybe the power want to show us different faces of himself, because we cannot understand the real face. And the second is we understand what we have around us through, let's say, a common in consciousness. And in that, we have a lot of cultural figures. And maybe is something entering this intermediate media, and what is going out is something different, because it's too theoretical. Maybe something is entering in it, and if I perceive it, I say, it's maybe an angel. Yes, it is an angel. I see also the feathers of the wings and so. But if it is a Chinese, for exactly the same thing, we will say, oh, it is a dragon with shining skulls, and so. So the information, if you want, is changing until the witness and until the story told by the witness. I, as an ufologist, I have a lot of stories, no more. And I should be aware that the stories are 90% fakes, fake images, fake memories, and so. Do you know perhaps about the screen memories? And so we in the UFO businesses very well now. So it's something remembered with the hypnotic regression, and completely different when he told us what he saw. So it's there is a lot of things, and I like ufologists should very carefully try to see what is behind all those additions, cultural additions, and behind them, I think it is always a power who connect us in a special manner, not as we imagine.
Well, do you think the ancient astronaut theory ties in with what you're saying, with what people have seen throughout the past, and try to either explain it by writing it down or with the images that they put on walls or manuscripts?
Yes, I have a special, maybe not everybody will agree with me. I have a special position in this. My position is, first of all, that this power I told you about, it is here not for hundreds of years, but maybe for millions of years. That's the first. They had very strong reasons to not interact with us, to not teach us, but to make very small interventions. I will tell you why I have this image. But they could be here maybe 100 million years ago, and they could lose some pieces, technical pieces, and we can find those pieces, and we don't know what to do with them. This is the first part. A second, they could do some interventions on human DNA, maybe, to push us to a better development. But about teaching us us. So they contacted us in a certain way every times in the history, but not teaching us what to do, or teaching, more exactly, to teaching us their technologies. Maybe what to do, don't kill each other, and so it's okay. You can teach someone, but not to teach him some maybe some warfare technologies. And we have I think the Bible, for example, contains a lot of the memories about such encounters, as well other books, and as the book of Enoch, maybe, or there are some books of Romans, of Egyptians, from ancient Egyptians and Romans, about some encounters or some sightings. And we have some hints that the science, the transmission of science, was forbidden. It's the tree of forbidden science, of forbidden knowledge of something. You know, that's the first pages of the Bible. But in the book of Enoch is more precisely that some angels decided to teach mankind some things, and they were very hardly punished by God. That is in the book of Enoch. So it was forbidden to teach people. But if you say, yes, what is Bible? Bible is only one book. You can think about Prometheus of the Greeks, who was punished because he was teaching people how to make fire and so. So there are in the memory of mankind a lot of things about forbidden transmission of knowledge. And of course, I put myself the question, why? And finally, I put this together with my knowledge about astronomy. I told you I have university education in astronomy, and much more than that, because I read a lot about. I was interested, and I was finally, our association, UFO Association, has the headquarters in an astronomical observatory in Bucharest. So it's we had many connections with astronomy. So I know very well, much better than, let's say, 99% of the population, how much the universe is, and how much could be behind. So maybe a multiverse, other universes, other kinds of matter, and so, but only in our universe. There are at least 100 billion galaxies. And only in one small galaxy, ours, there are at least 200 billion stars. With, that's a recent figure, with at least 30 billion planets with life, possibility of life. So, of course, that means not civilization.
Right.
We have very special conditions here on Earth for civilizations. But these conditions are in this huge universe in billions of other planets. Even these very, very, very special conditions we have here on Earth. What is not understood very well is that is not in the same moment. The age of Sun, of Earth, of our solar system is, let's say, 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 billion years. But there are similar solar systems with similar sun, similar planet around it, which is 1 billion years older than our solar system. So, and not one, many. So it's something which started at least 1 billion years before us in some other parts of the universe. What that means? That means that a civilization like ours could arise in some other parts of the universe 1 billion years ago. What they became after 1,000 years, after 100,000 years, 1 million, 10 millions, 100 million, or 1 billion years. That is impossible to imagine that huge amount of time. And there are not only one, there are at least several. Mm-hmm. And they are so far from us as we are from ants or lizards or so. But ant is a good comparison because ants appeared, let's say, 400 million years ago. And now, what they became in the meantime? Of course, they are something very, very, very different, unimaginably different. I wrote in this book that maybe we can do one thing, to give them a name, hyper civilizations. Mm-hmm. They are a hyper civilization. Even us, if we develop if we don't discover nothing more in physics, we can, in 1-2 million years, colonize all our galaxy. So if someone was with 100 million years or more before us, they colonized the galaxy 100 million years ago, and they know about us. They know we are here on Earth. Of course, this is the conclusion of the UFO business in that book.
Mm-hmm.
And they know about us.
Could they brought us here? Because I know in the book of Genesis in the Bible, it talks about how God created man and woman. Well, actually, two women. But could we have been brought here? Could that have been the God that they're talking about in the Bible as an alien civilization brought us here?
So I don't want to hurt anybody with any belief.
Oh, you're not.
But my impression is that very, very high power, which is not comparable with mankind, with our minds and so. They intervened on some species, made some genetic engineering. They changed something. And I want to tell you one funny thing. If someone make this, he must create first a man and only afterwards a woman. Why? Because a man has two chromosomes, X and Y. Mm-hmm. And removing the Y and making a clone, it will be a female, a clone of the male. But to make from a female a male, you should add from somewhere an I. Hmm. So it's very interesting that Bible don't say they were created both in the same time. First the male, second the female, because if we want to create a new species, we must create first a male and second a clone of which is a female. Of course, they were cloned, and from the clones there are the rest of and from some other changes we can obtain the rest of the population. Very interesting also, in the Bible, there is a fragment which is unexplainable. Why is it in the Bible? It has no connection with anything, almost. So that some angels were coming to Earth and interbreeding with females and having some sons, which were the great people of those times. What that means, or the angels were of the same species as the humans, maybe another race of humans, because otherwise it's impossible to have interbreeding, or it was another genetic experiment improving the human population. And full stop in Bible. But in the book of Enoch, which is accepted by the Church of Ethiopia as a holy book, they told a bit more. Some angels, 200, they told exactly how much. And the name of the chief had wives from the females of earth and had with them children. And God was very angry and punished them. So, but in the book of Enoch, there is another clue which is absolutely fantastic. You know about Noah.
Mm-hmm.
Noah was the grandson of Enoch. So it was Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and when Lamech had the first son, it was Noah. And in the book of Enoch is written, and not only there, is written also in some scrolls of Dead Sea and in many other old writings, that, yes, I have not the English version, but their eyes were bright, his face was like milk and roses. And the hair was white. And Lamech told, he is not my son. He is not from human race. Why? Because for us it's a quite normal newborn, white skin, bright eyes, and the hair also maybe not white but blonde. So maybe they were completely different. And Lamech told to his father Methuselah, yes, I cannot accept this boy until I know what is happening here. Please, told to his father, go to your father Enoch, who is in the desert and is going with God, because he was talking from time to time with God, as it is in the book of Enoch. And Methuselah is going to Enoch and asking him, yes, my son has a son like so, and what have to do now? And is absolutely fantastic. Enoch answers to Methuselah, yes, Lamech must accept that this is his boy, because God is making a new work on earth. And all the rest of the people will be killed by a flood, and only this will survive. So it was not because he was very good, and so he was the chosen from the moment of his birth. So, and I can add the incubus and succubus of the Romans, or or maybe the heroes of Greeks. They are all sons of some interbreeding of some gods with some females, and even Merlin is told to be a child from an incubus and his mother. So it's and in the Middle Ages it was everywhere in Europe, and yes, in Romania we have the name is Zburătorul. It means nothing for an English air. But we have the Romanian form of this male coming to females by night and interbreeding with them, and so. So it's something common even now. And now we have the abductions with the genetic component with some hybrids, and so it is the same power with different manners to show the same actions. So I can accept the intervention in human genetics, but it is for hundreds of thousands years.
You would think with
maybe they have time, not like us.
You'd think with the interbreeding, especially with Adam and Eve and with Noah, with those 2 points in time compared to the Bible, that it would the genetics would cause mankind to actually be de-evolved, because where it shows the retardation that happens with brothers and sisters and mothers and sons and so forth. So how is that possible that mankind has been able to move forward past that without some type of intervention?
Because they accepted that that intervention is something very, very exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say it's one time in 1 million cases now.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest is the nature which makes his own way.
Oh, okay.
It's not only there. I told you at the beginning, there are small interventions,
mm-hmm.
like let's say an entomologist studying an anthill. He can pick an ant, make some studies on it, make maybe some special ants in another anthill, not in the initial anthill. Maybe sending back this in the anthill, and sending back with a small device, and staying in front of the laptop and seeing what that ant is doing in the anthill. So the ants will not have a direct contact with the entomologist,
mm-hmm.
only with the the modified ant introduced in anthill. And maybe a modified ant will be destroyed somehow. Okay, this is not a catastrophe. It adds a bit to the research, the cost of the research, and that's all. So I think that is the way we should think that UFO story. And also, the entomologist is not going to the chief of anthill to make a deal and to say, yes, I will teach you something, or to ask a permit to enter the anthill. It's too big the difference. And it is the same thing with the Bible, if you want, or with any other religion.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense.
I am not saying this is the final solution, because I am aware our mind is limited. We are not the brightest species in universe as capacity. So we have limits. Also, if I have a bright idea, I should be aware it is limited. But this is what I can put on the table. And I think it's a good point to go further. But this is what I can tell now. And it also, I remember now, it's, I don't remember exactly. The universe is not stranger than we can imagine, although than we imagine, is also stranger than we can imagine. So we cannot imagine how strange is the universe. The reality, if you want, is more than universe. And if we accept this power above us, many other things, interesting things, could be explained. For example, let I make a story now too. If I am such a power and I am controlling, monitoring what is on Earth, I am like someone discovering a wild place on Earth. If we discover a wild place on Earth, not only an anthill, a place where never no man entered before. What we do, even now, we declare that point as reservation. So so yes, no one is allowed to enter here. You want to make tourism? Yes, you can be close to see, but not touch. We have some people who can enter the reservation to make small experiments, but not changing the ways the things are evolving. Maybe the power above us does the same thing. So we are in a closed environment. Some globes and can be here to see us, but no more. Some other can pick up one to make a small experiment and take him back, and maybe trying to clean the memory of, to don't remember. But the experimenter, should have a record of what is happening here. So what can I do? At least for the more interesting people, but why not for everybody? I have a small, not device, a small function of the brain to record everything in the mind of this person, and not only what he is thinking, speaking, reading, learning, but also his face, his movements, his encounters with other people, and so to record all his life. We on Earth try to do the same thing in the virtual reality. We have this second life business and many other games and so, with which are, it's like in the Matrix film. You know the Matrix. Mm-hmm. So they could, this power, could have a device to record every people in a virtual reality. What that means? That means, and every people is in contact with this virtual reality because he is recorded every moment. Mm-hmm. The American Army and CIA, beginning with 72, had remote viewers. You know, maybe. Yes. Until 95. I read some good books wrote by some remote viewers, even translated in Romanian, and I understood they make their remote viewing entering, not going somehow in a miraculous way to a certain point, but entering this device, which is let's say that this collective unconsciousness and where everything is recorded, and they had a direct access not to themselves, but to the information of someone else, of some other place, because the places are also recorded. And so I can, and also this is recorded in time, because a remote viewer is told to make the two steps. Go please to that place. Yes. What are you seeing? Yes, it's okay. And now go 100 days before, where maybe an accident was, and I want more data about the accident. So he is directed to a place, and after this, to a moment. So in this recording, general recording, some remote viewers can enter and can find data, information. You know about Edgar Casey.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He was a good example. Entering and finding data about some people, about the illness and so, and data about some drugs to give to that people, to make him healthy. Also, some other people start to speak languages which were not taught to them. They didn't know that language, but after maybe an accident, they speak another language. Or there are some past lives. The past lives can be explained like contacting the life of a deceased person, not me in a past life, but another person, and I enter in his virtual reality record, and I feel like it's my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I see I was killed in such and such situations. Because also we have another, this reincarnation is logically a bit strange. If we have Adam and Eve, there were two people reincarnated, and now we are 7.5 billion. So 7.5 billion reincarnated souls. Where came they from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It makes sense, no?
It makes a lot of sense.
This reincarnation story has some problems. But if I make some contacts with some past life, past people, a very interesting problem, but is open. So I have no answer. This power records everything about me. And when I will die, this my copy will stay in this record with my thoughts, with my words. If someone enters in this virtual reality, can have a talk with me, and they will answer somehow like I would do this in my real life. This copy has consciousness or not. So my consciousness is copied or not.
So you're saying that
if yes, maybe this copy continues my life there, and maybe can have initiatives, maybe to enter a real life, a real material body, and to do something. So we have cases when people in some bad situations was somehow invaded by another person who was dead only for 2-3 years, recently dead. And for example, is David Paladin. You can find it on internet. He was a painter, an American one, almost dead in the Second World War. And when he recovered from coma, he was asked, "Who are you?" He told, "I am Vasily Kandinsky, and I am painter." He was no education. He was a garbage people. So he was a very uneducated, and when he recovered, he told, "I am Kandinsky." Oh, Kandinsky dead 3 years ago. Give me instruments for painting, and I will show you I am Kandinsky. And he painted exactly like Kandinsky. You can find a story in some I found in a book, but it's everywhere on the internet, because he was a real person, and he regained his real personality, but he remained painter. And he was from Navajo tribe, and he painted a mixture from Kandinsky and Navajo tradition. So it's a very interesting story. You can explain it with this general virtual reality type memory, which is, this is the question, this is natural around us, or organized by a higher consciousness above us, a higher power above. Maybe they organize something around us, and this could explain many other things.
But what you was talking about earlier, could the conscience be what people portray or think as the soul?
Yes, I don't know, because many people use many words for many not very well defined things. So if the soul is something which survives after our death and survives with a certain consciousness. So it's not exactly the soul. The soul could be that record in that virtual reality, which has at least a copy of consciousness. What is consciousness? That means I know I am who I am, what can I do, what I was, what hope I will be, what are my relatives, where I am, what are my friends, and so. And also, consciousness is I have some responsibilities toward everybody around me. I have some powers, so I can do this and cannot do this. And also means that I am willing to do this. And it's not exactly the good word, I must to do this because I promised or it was my final aim to do this, and maybe my death interrupted me in this endeavor, and I want to continue at least to finish some things in the real life, and so in this. So this is my image about what we know like soul and consciousness. Mm-hmm. The consciousness is the property of the, let's say, soul to understand that I am I. And I am here, and yes, I am continuing. I know my name, and I know where I was born and who are my parents, and so. Mm-hmm. So that is consciousness, mm-hmm. And of course awareness, because I when I am sleeping deeply or I am in coma, I have no awareness. Mm-hmm. And all this is consciousness.
Okay. Well, with the buildings of the megaliths or mega structures, they're built like Tiahuanaco and the Great Pyramid.
Yes, yes.
Those people, those ancient peoples, apparently had a technology or an understanding of building and construction that we seem to don't have today.
Yes, I visited some places. So I was at Tiahuanaco. I was at the pyramids. I was. It's not so in Mexico. They have also some pyramids.
The Aztecs and Mayans.
And so, my understanding is they are human creations. Mm-hmm. And it was no more help than maybe some small help, which was not very well permitted. Like Prometheus, and so some intervened, some helped a bit. Mm-hmm. But what is absolutely sure, the ancient civilizations knew some technologies which were lost. Mm-hmm. And how can you lose a technology? For us, it's difficult to understand because we have such a global village around the world that everything is immediately knew by everybody. But in ancient times, a technology was an asset. Only a small number of persons knew a certain technology. And it was forbidden to give to another. It was an initiation to enter the group knowing this technology. It was Freemasons. What are they originally? Builders of churches. Mason means builder of church. And it was a small group knowing a lot of secrets, how to build a Gothic church in the Middle Ages, and nobody else was allowed to know these secrets. There were some workers,
right?
But the right secrets, and you can see how fantastic things they did. That was absolutely secret, and only one entering with some swears and was allowed to learn the secrets. And this was also in ancient times. They knew some technologies which were lost, because if that small group was maybe killed by some warriors coming from nowhere, the technology was lost. I heard, it's only one thing, that in the Amazon region, some people knew some method to prepare liquid to make the stone not hard, soft. To make the stone soft, and to put it in a form, and after a while it became hard again. So maybe some at Pumapunku, maybe some stones were made in this way, maybe. But if the people knowing the recipe, how to make from some special plants this solution, the recipe was lost, and nobody knows how it was made. So there are some things like this, and also I am not friend of legend of Atlantis. I am not friend of legend of Mu, of other continents, because, for example, we have now a civilization. Let's say it is tomorrow a huge catastrophe, maybe a biological one, destroying all humanity, surviving only the small animals. And after 100 million years, another civilization like us at our level will arise. They will start to dig. They will discover everywhere, but everywhere, the construction, the buildings, the technologies, the machinery of our civilization. We cannot accept a civilization maybe 1 million years before, because digging everywhere, we discover some interesting things, some scars of Pithecanthropus, some fireplaces of Australopithecus. Fireplace, yes, but not building. The concrete the buildings made in the Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
It will be discoverable if after a general catastrophe of the world. It will be discoverable after 1 billion years, and many other cities and villages and roads, and so it's not acceptable that it was a big civilization like us, knowing maybe the atom bomb and destroying itself by a nuclear catastrophe and so. But I accept and I am confident there were many lost technologies, human, and maybe some small intervention, but unofficial from extraterrestrials.
Well, how do you think mankind is? Because I know I've seen in England, Texas, they found some people found a hammer that the head of it is made of pure iron. It's so pure that we can't duplicate it today, according to what the scientists are saying. And that's a handle it had a wooden handle, and the wooden handle was actually turning into coal. And it takes 350 million years for wood to start turning into coal. So, is humans that old or older?
It can be explained in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
For example, they found after a tornado a wooden piece piercing metallic or a concrete,
mm-hmm.
like so, and each was entire, but it was piercing through.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know about the ultimate, the last properties of the matter,
mm-hmm.
and of the reality. There are some stories, people going through the wall. There are too many, and you should think maybe it's possible. The atom is a very empty space, and it's a problem of resonance. We have a proper resonance. We could go with one solid object through another solid object. but is a problem of vibrations. I don't know how. I don't know if there is a physical explanation now, but it is not impossible. It is. We can imagine how it could be possible if we have a proper technology. So maybe a technology or a spatial situation which could happen, maybe not in a tornado, but in something similar, a very special physical moment, in very special physical situation. A hammer could go in the middle of Earth. This is a first possibility. A second possibility is we have in Romania an aluminium piece, a big one. If maybe I have it, yes, I have it. It's not very good piece. Do you see it?
Yes, I've seen it.
This is almost the real size. And it was found 10 meters deep under a layer of sand, of hardened sand, along with some bones 100,000 years old, mastodon bones. This is kind of elephant. And the piece is from aluminium. Nobody could tell what it is, but it is covered with rust. And the rust is 1 millimeter thick, or aluminium makes no rust. It has a very thin layer of oxide, and that's all it stops. To have such a big layer of rust, they told it takes many hundreds or maybe 1,000 years. Or the aluminium was discovered recently. No aluminium piece on Earth made by human had the time to be roasted in this depth. So it's another example. We have a lot of them. Some of Romania, but everywhere in the world. They could be explained also as visits on Earth. From this higher power, they were coming here, doing something here, and coming back. And they lost some pieces, a hammer, or this piece also.
It would make sense.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Everybody, I drop tools all the time.
Sense.
Yeah.
Because if you make a visit, make some things in a place, you can maybe lose some. There is a story. I don't believe it, but only to show you what we can imagine. That this aluminium piece was a landing heel of a UFO, let's say, and a mastodon was coming, and it was a fight somehow between this UFO and the mastodon, and lost, in the fight it lost that piece, and maybe the mastodon was killed. So and the UFO was going without the shield. But it's only a story invented to explain. But it is possible to have such kind of stories, and maybe some objects lost along the millions of years.
Well, are there any patterns that, with your study of the UFOs sightings in Romania, are there any type of patterns that you have seen within the years that they've been reported?
So in Romania, or
in Romania.
Yes. For example, I corresponded with one witness, and he wrote me a lot of letters. It's a library.
Wow.
And also tapes, ancient kind of tapes, and because he was not satisfied, maybe he not explained very exactly what he saw, and yes, and I made comparison between letter wrote 20 years ago and now about the same details, and there is a small change, but not big changes. If it's about the details in Romania and in other countries in similar situations, of course there are differences, because let's say about abductions, I am convinced that UFO abductions are genuine. It's a genuine phenomenon. I have, even in my family, a case. Not in my close family, but it's a relative which entered in the family. But he is in the family, and he is not willing to. He's living now in States, and is not willing to disclose his story. But knowing I am interested, he told, yes, for you I can tell what was. And there are similarities, there are differences. And for me, interesting is always what is similar. I accept that not all, let's say, genuine abduction is exactly on the same basis and details, and but there are some differences. But there are some cultural things added, and the cultural things added are different in Romania and in other countries. But for example, in if a person is abducted in Romania, one moment is, yes, and I was naked on a table which is like a parallelepiped, parallelogram. Like a piece of one like a slab of so all the tables where the abducted is examined are more or less the same. All the examinations are more or less the same, with people around which has some faces more or less the same, with many different details.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that behind this something is happened and happening even now. Maybe some people, yes, is preparing to change the human kind with them, the human race with them, making hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's not true. They are doing something for 1 million years, and they are doing forward, but not with alien DNA, maybe, but with human DNA, changing the human DNA somehow, because they are not like us. They cannot be hybridized with us. They are completely different. How they look, I don't know. It's the difference between the entomologist and the ant.
Right.
So the entomologist makes maybe genetic engineering on ants, but not with making a hybrid between himself and the ant. This is not. And
mm-hmm.
after 1 billion years, maybe they are no more material.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they moved in a kind of virtual reality. Why? To live forever. Because as a material, you cannot, or it's very difficult to live forever. But in a very special, spiritual, virtual reality, you can maybe live forever and have no care about time is going and things like this. Yes, we need to wait another million of years. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's bad.
Maybe they have they are not extraterrestrials in the narrow sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
They are a power above, having many, many faces and many human understandings of their many faces. So that is the show.
But it sounds to me, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like you're talking about God or gods that man has interpreted throughout the years.
Yes. Please be more explicit. What do you?
Well, were you talking about? You're talking about the power above. I know, in Christianity, when I was taught, they talk about the power above.
Yes.
The Romans and the Greeks with all their gods, Zeus and Hades and so forth. And I'm sure in other cultures they have the same thing. But it sounds like that the gods that people understand and have worshipped and talk about the great things that they've been able to do, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but because I don't really study this, I'm fascinated with it, but I don't study it to the depth that you have. Sounds like extraterrestrials to me.
First of all,
Mm-hmm.
I told you my mind is limited.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't told you about extraterrestrials.
Mm-hmm.
I told you about hyper civilizations,
right,
which are no more maybe material and so.
Mm-hmm.
I accept that we have an image of power of God above us.
Mm-hmm.
What is my comment to this? Is that my limited mind cannot make the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I accept my limits. I am aware only that is a power and has many faces
Mm-hmm.
toward me. I accept also that some of those faces are accepted by hundreds of millions of people. Some other faces, Vishnu, Shiva, are accepted by other hundreds of millions of people. But they are faces shown in the past to us and understood by the human groups in one way or other. It must be so, because the order between humans cannot be maintained only in this way. But if you make a pace, another pace, and another pace, you can understand you cannot refute our God. You cannot refute Vishnu and Shiva. You cannot refute hyper civilizations. So the best thing for me, and this is my limit, is to accept above us is a power. And I worship this power with the faith I am accustomed with a faith accepted by my culture. But that this is not what I cannot accept, that yes, this is the only true faith, and we can exclude and blame other faces. So this, and if everybody will understand with this, that means it will stop all the religions wars, because we understood they are a form. This power has been shown to us, but is not his final form.
Mm-hmm. Well, with the things that are going on in the world right now, looking pretty bleak, do you think this power is going to help maybe come in right in this moment in time and maybe come in and try to help move mankind forward, or just leave us to our own devices?
I am coherent in my approach,
mm-hmm.
and I want to show once again that image of a natural reserve.
Mm-hmm.
If you make a natural reserve, what will you doing if some animals fight one against others? Will help? No. You will wait to see how it develops.
Mm-hmm.
So, humanity is, I made a small mistake here. It was I wanted to make it. So humanity is a bit more than anthill or natural reservation. Why? Natural park. Why? Because humanity is a future hyper-civilization. They will be similar with gods.
Mm-hmm.
Gods. If you want to use the word god instead of hyper-civilization.
Mm-hmm.
So we will rise on that level the hyper-civilizations are now.
Mm-hmm.
But first of all, we have to do two things. One is to show if we are a race which deserves to become a hyper-civilization, and this will be demonstrated by in the next centuries if we will survive or not. If we will not survive, that means we are too aggressive, too xenophobe, too ugly spirits
mm-hmm.
to become a hyper-civilization. If we will survive, that means we discovered how we can be peaceful. Because the warfare technology is evolving. We missed to destroy the world in the 20th century, but we can discover with a nuclear holocaust, but we will discover something much more efficient in 21st century and something much more efficient in 22nd. And so if we continue in this way. Mm-hmm. And finally, we will discover that final solution to destroy the world. And that's the end. And they will not intervene. They will do the next thing. Maybe they will pick some people and will retain this virtual reality memory, which recorded everything. Mm-hmm. And maybe they will say, yes, that was a bad example. Mm-hmm. Let's see another civilization. If we will survive, we have another thing to do. We have to face, it's not like the Americans going with airplanes in the Second World War on an island in the Pacific, and dropping some help, and they worshipped that plane god. Mm-hmm. is not such kind, or going with all the supermarket in the middle of a tribe, and they all their mythology, all their dreams, all their future is going away, and the humanity lost an alternative method to view the reality. They had another viewpoint, another vision of reality. To have a comparison, the Indian vision and the Chinese vision and the European vision toward human body and health are different. Mm-hmm. And we now are happy we had at least 3 different visions, because only with the European it would be very narrow, very, very small. But with the energetic, with the yoga, with the acupuncture, with this is much, we understand that the human body is something much larger than the European, or if you want, Western medicine discovered. So we lost some visions when we destroyed the Aztecs and the Inca. And the hyper civilization, if they are coming here, they will destroy everything all our culture and everything we built in thousands of years. So this is the explanation why they want not to contact us and to teach us, to preserve our originality or original vision. For the moment, we will contact them.
Wow.
So,
wow, that's fascinating. I've never heard anyone put it that way.
Once again, I want to. Not everything I told you is in this book, mm-hmm. but a lot is in this book. So if you want, I explain some things in. That's for your listeners. Have you the image of the book or not?
Yeah, I have it. And I'll also, before we jump off here, give you the opportunity, if you've got a website or some kind of...
yes, to show them. And maybe who is interested can buy it. It's not only because I am commercially interested, but I think there are some ideas worth to be spread.
Well, I know I'm going to get a copy of it because I'm fascinated with it, and Philip, I had him on, done a pre-recorded show with him, and I got to get his book too. I told him it's fascinating.
Yes, so it's not only a list of Romanian sightings and encounters. It's also an explanation. I try to explain what can I presume it is behind all this phenomenon.
Well, I'm going to have to, have you on again so we can, I guess, delve more into the book. And I apologize that we kind of veered off from the book, but I'm kind of happy that we did because I learned a lot. I mean, you opened up.
I'm happy. I had such a good partner. I had to expose not everything, but a lot of what I think should be told.
Oh, I agree. And to me, with the show, with my show, I like for people to lay the foundation of, just like you have your research and your thoughts and your beliefs also, and then when you have time, maybe in a couple months, come back and then we'll do a show, just delve more into your book and books. But like I said, I apologize that I kind of veered off from it.
Yes, I can tell you, I have several other books in Romanian, which are going deeper on those problems, but they are not translated in English. So what to do? Even this book is not yet translated in Romanian, or it is translated but not printed in Romanian.
Oh, okay.
So we have a lot of things to do, and I am waiting for a next meeting when you consider it is the right time, and you now maybe you can, if you have some questions from the listeners, and so you can give them to me, and I can prepare some answers.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I've had many guests that that came back on where people have emailed me or messaged me somehow that or text me that they want they had a question, and then I'd send it to guests.
We can have the contact by email.
Right. That sounds fine. And Doctor, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I know it's getting late for you over there. It's still pretty and sunny here. And I have I have some yard work to do.
It's okay. I will have a nice remembering about everything in this evening.
Oh yeah, it was an honor to meet you and speak with you. And once I get the show cut and everything, I'll let you know when I'm going to air it, and I'll send you the link so you can, if you want to listen to it or share it or whatever you want to do. So that way you have a copy. I do that with everybody when I do.
Yes.
Pre-recorded.
If I have a copy of our conversation, I will promote it.
Okay.
On our site and so.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, Doctor, I'll let you go. And again, it's been an honor to speak with you, and I cannot wait to get you back on so we can actually get more into the book, because I had like 3 pages of questions to go into the book, but we veered off, and I've had a lot of interviews that do this, and I love it because I learn more. It seems than just going by a bunch of questions, because I got to do that for myself.
Yes, I abused a bit. I explained more about the what I think caused the UFOs than about specific cases.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was great. It's great. And like I said, I'll let you go. You have a good night, sir, and I will be in contact with you.
Good night to you, and it was a pleasure for me to be in contact with your listeners.
We appreciate that, and that's like I said. I'll be in contact. You have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, bud. You have a good one.
reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's going to a picnic, but our clothes are stained.
That's quite a pickle.
Ketchup, actually. We want to look amazing.
Go to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, right now get up to 50% off all tees, all tanks, all shorts, and all dresses at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
All up to 50% off?
Yes, get tees and tanks from $6 for adults, $5 for kids, and dresses start at $15 for women, $10 for girls.
Hey everyone, we're going Old Navy.
High fashion, Old Navy. Valid 6/21 to 6/27. Excludes clearance jewelry, active, flat tees and tanks, licensed, and men's package tops. Hi, you've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, my family's going to a picnic, but our clothes are stained.
That's quite a pickle.
Ketchup, actually. We want to look amazing.
Go to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, right now get up to 50% off all tees, all tanks, all shorts, and all dresses at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
All up to 50% off?
Yes, get tees and tanks from $6 for adults, $5 for kids, and dresses start at $15 for women, $10 for girls.
Hey everyone, we're going Old Navy.
High fashion, Old Navy. Valid 6/21 to 6/27. Excludes clearance jewelry, active, flat tees and tanks, licensed, and men's package tops.